Welcome to Spiritual Psychology. My name's Renee LaValle McKenna, and I bring my 30-plus years as a recovering addict and ex-crazy person turned therapist and shamanic healer to bring you snackable teachings on spirituality, psychology, and all things personal growth. And today I want to talk about the value of silence. And in the information age, finding or creating silence in our life may take a little bit of work, but rather than being an empty, boring place, silence is actually a portal to the unmanifested and an instant connection with our own deeper truth. Now, I've always been kind of an extreme person, and although I'm always working to cultivate the middle path of moderation, I have come to accept and even value my own extremity. And I have an extreme need for space, for time, and for quiet. I spend some time when I first wake up, checking in with my body, asking God to direct my thinking and show me what to do today. And that kind of sets my compass that whatever happens or comes up, even random ideas or thoughts I have the opportunity to be inspired. Not all of them are inspired, trust me, but it gives me a deeper trust in however the day unfolds, because I try to start by letting it go in a moment of silence and taking a few to just sit and listen and see if anything comes back. I consider life to be a conversation between my own soul and personality self and the larger life force. And there's what I want from life, and there's what life wants from me. And sometimes those are aligned. Sometimes it's an ongoing conversation. Sometimes it's a creative adventure, and sometimes it's an argument. I'm a very complicated person, so a lot of times I like things simple, and a lot of times I'll tell God, make it obvious, make it simple, and make it quick, please. And then I gotta let it go. I believe every problem has a solution. And although I do lots of research, well, I don't do a lot of research. I'll do a little research. I do a lot of talking to people. I do a lot of asking God for help, and then I see what comes back to me. And I use that in almost every issue or problem in my life. And I know the universe is listening because I always receive answers. They just might come in unexpected ways. And I use this conversational approach to God, or for me, with the goddess, for just about everything, from the most serious to the mundane. About 35 years ago, I looked in the mirror one morning after a 3-day Coke run, and I didn't recognize the young woman looking back. And I wasn't much into praying at that point in my life, but I very quietly said, God, help me. And within a few weeks, I was in my first 12-step meeting. After a series of very curious and unexpected connections, completely changed and redirected my life. Had no desire to get sober. Would not have thought that was the problem. I thought the problem was my married boyfriend. His wife was really annoying. Or the fact that maybe the phones were tapped at work because the police were after my boss for drug dealing. Or the fact that I was 40 pounds overweight, had a lot of money problems. I had problems in just about every area. And I thought drugs and alcohol were holding me together. And it was a shocking surprise to me that the thing I was most attached to, which was self-medicating and partying, was the thing I most needed to let go of. And that has happened over and over again in my life as well, which is why I try to practice letting go, because I actually don't know what's best for me most of the time. Still, my limited little human pea brain that only knows how to take the past and project it into the future and can't imagine what is yet to unfold or be created in new, rich, and interesting ways in my life. Prayed for guidance around my dying marriage. Was terrified that divorce would devastate everyone. And the instruction kept being just show up and tell the emotional truth. And even deeper guidance that I started to get from my therapists, through my own journaling, and just from information I was getting from the world at large through articles or things I would listen to look at my own deeper needs and a responsibility to meet them and a willingness to receive. Like most people, I've always been better at giving than receiving. And that divorce unfolded in surprising ways I never could have predicted. We lived together and co-parented for 2 years while we each had separate relationships with other people. He remains an excellent father to our almost grown children. And probably the tipping point for me came, I was talking to one of my dear friends saying, I don't want to fuck up my kids and break up the family. And she said, do you want to model for your daughter staying in an empty relationship because you think that's best for other people? And I thought, ooh, that's what my mother did for me. And here I am. And I got to trust that the highest good for me is the highest good for everyone involved. I did a podcast on praying for the highest good, number 146. I sat in some excruciating silence after my daughter unexpectedly moved out to live with her dad a couple years ago because of this terrible experience at her school. And it just didn't feel right to be separated from her yet. What is next, God? Make it clear, make it quick. And a few weeks later, we took a vacation to New York for her spring break. And the first day we were here, I said, you want to move to Manhattan? She said, fuck yeah. And here we are, 18 months later, having a girl's adventure in Manhattan while she finishes high school. Epic, unexpected turn of events. And I ask for little things as well, like I hate shopping. And I think I mentioned I'm not very good at research either, but I need some better hair products. I have curly hair, needs a lot of moisturizing. And my daughter, who loves research and hair products, said, oh, here, try this. It's perfect. So the conversation doesn't always have to be serious, but paying attention to the little serendipities or the big unfoldments and where they're calling us in this flowing river of life that we're all floating or swimming or maybe drowning in, gives us endless opportunities to realign ourselves and be able perhaps to enjoy the ride rather than struggling against the current. And with all the information that we can be bombarded with through our phones and televisions, email, text, social media, we need to make sure we take time to listen to what's happening within us and to that deeper calling of the divine, which may not be tuned into Twitter. Now, I know I was really uncomfortable looking within myself because I thought there was a lot of stuff in there I didn't want to find. And that's actually become my life work, to help to look within so that we can clear and release what no longer serves us, so that we can update and mature old systems that are dysfunctional, and so that we can listen to and follow those voices of wisdom and inspiration and creativity that hold the seeds of our joy and happiness within each of us. And we really generally need some focused, intentional quiet time to be able to do that, whether we do it alone or whether we do it with a friend, a therapist, or an advisor. And I have to say, over time, I have found very little value in a lot of what's being produced in our culture, and I take in very little content. For me, most movies and TV shows are kind of like junk food. I love a good story, but the mainstream media is just not very interesting to me. And I find it much more fulfilling to go sit and watch the moon or the sunrise than I do listening to the news tell me who got arrested or how many people got killed in a foreign place yesterday. We each amazingly have our own life experience, and there's lots of information out there about other people's life experience. But I find it most beneficial to just pay attention to what's actually happening in my own life. And most of the time, people are pretty nice. My needs are met, and it's a kind of fun and peaceful experience. I'm acutely aware of human suffering, and I have had much of my own, and I'm sure I will have much more. I don't actually need to engage in the suffering of others, and I don't need to feel bad if I'm having a different experience than someone else. We all have our own soul's journey. I'm totally willing to be generous and helpful to those people if that feels like the right thing to do. But some of the value of silence is to deeply feel my own life experience. And that provides a lot of information. Sitting quietly, making room for your feelings for 3 to 5 minutes every day or even a couple times a week will change your life. And often our feelings or our deeper truth don't align with the idealized self-image or way we think things are supposed to be. And perhaps the greatest work of peace is coming into alignment that how I feel and the circumstances of my life, what I think, and my behaviors are all in alignment. That is a tremendous goal, that my body, my mind, and my spirit are all in agreement, that how I act, what I think, and what I feel are a singularity. And working toward that is, for me, the goal of all good personal growth work. And it's not like I live there all the time, and certainly my clients don't either. Looking for where we're out of alignment and what we want to align with. And for me, that's central to this talking, listening prayer or meditation with the larger consciousness system. Where do I have dis-ease? And I think our greatest self-responsibility is to address our dis-ease and dysfunction so that we can be the best version of ourselves in the world. And sometimes these conversations with God are neat and clean, simple and easy, like my little hair care solution, or even my move to Manhattan. And sometimes they're violent, challenging, and uncomfortable. I had a spiritual advisor that was a nun, and she helped manage a house for women with AIDS in Boston. And they had groups a couple times a week. And during one of the groups, one of the women stormed in. And the house was run by Catholic Charities, so there was a picture of Jesus on the wall. She stormed into the room, tore the picture of Jesus off the wall and smashed it on the floor. And she said, "Fuck God, fuck this place." But rather than going out and shooting heroin, she had come back for the group. And Sister Marilyn said to her, "What happened?" She said, "My sister was murdered." Why would God do that? And there was this tremendous outpouring of love and compassion and a deep conversation about the mystery of tragedy and human evil. And some of the women were horrified that she would, quote unquote, disrespect God in that way. And Sister said, "That's the most honest prayer I've ever seen. To grab the picture, smash it, and bring your deeper truth to God." And so how do we have an authentic, vulnerable relationship with the divine? And how do we have an authentic, vulnerable relationship with ourselves? And how do we have an authentic, vulnerable relationship with the people that are close to us in our lives? And those three questions, if lived deeply on any given day, will keep us busy to our very last breath, because there's always room to grow. Thank you so much for listening. I'm going on retreat this weekend in Oregon with Gangaji, a student of Papaji, a student of Ramana Maharshi, in a lineage that I don't even know a tremendous amount about. But I'm going to learn. And then I'm traveling the next few weeks doing college tours for my girl after that. But I have scheduled some really excellent YouTube interviews and conversations with some really gifted and talented deep practitioners of other modalities. So I'm trying to drop a video a week on YouTube. So I'd appreciate if you'd follow me and check it out. This podcast is also available on YouTube now, and I'm planning on doing a remote workshop on ancestral or intergenerational healing sometime before Christmas. I'll keep you posted on the dates for that. We all carry unresolved trauma from our parents and ancestors, and making that conscious, coming into alignment in healing with intergenerational trauma is incredibly profound. And if you want to get on my mailing list, click the link in the show notes and you'll get updates on all my upcoming events. Deep gratitude to my supporters on Patreon and through this podcast. Blessings on your path until we meet again. This is Renee LaValle McKenna for Spiritual Psychology.